want to try a couple of examples of writing equations of lines containing medians, altitudes, and perpendicular bisectors of sides of triangles. Just a quick review. A median of a triangle connects the vertex to the midpoint of the base. You can see that here. The altitude of a triangle connects the vertex to the line containing the base at a perpendicular. And the perpendicular bisector of a side of a triangle does not necessarily contain the vertex. It can in some cases, but specifically it contains the midpoint of the base, and it hits the base at a perpendicular. So as I come over here, if I have a triangle that has vertices at 2, 1, 3, 6, and 10, 3, and I want to find a median, it's got to go from the vertex. This time I'm going to have it go from vertex A through side BC. So that'll be to the midpoint of side BC. Well, a midpoint is just the average of the x and y coordinates. So it's halfway over and halfway up, basically. Midpoint formula is just, as a result, x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Add the numbers together, divide by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So I just need to find the midpoint there. In this case, the two x coordinates are 2 and 10 of side BC that I want to find the midpoint for. So that's 2 plus 10 divided by 2. The two y coordinates are 1 and 3. So 1 plus 3 divided by 2. And when I simplify that, that's going to be 12 divided by 2, which is 6. 4 divided by 3, which is 2. Midpoint would be at 6, 2. Never hurts to go back to your graph and check, but if you go over to 6, 2, it's going to be that point right there, and that would be, in fact, the midpoint. So on my graph, I know that that median is going to pass through that point right there. So the median is going to be this line segment. It's going to pass through the point 3, 6, which is the vertex, and it's going to pass through the point 6, 2. So it's going to go from 3, 6 through 6, 2. And quickest and easiest way, since I don't know what the y-intercept is, would be to find the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And of course that is going to be 2 minus 6 over 6 minus 3. 2 minus 6, of course, is negative 4. 6 minus 3 is 3. So there's my slope. I would prefer to use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. It does not matter which point I use on the line. I'll use the vertex point of 3, 6. So I'm using the point of 3, 6, and I'm using the slope of negative 4/3. So that's going to be y minus the y coordinate equals the slope times x minus the x coordinate. And I have the equation of my median line. Now, if I want to find the altitude is going to go through the vertex point perpendicular to the base. Okay, well, the vertex point, of course, in my triangle is still that point at 3, 6. It's got to be perpendicular to the base, so I need to find the base slope, and I'm going to need to take the negative reciprocal of that. The base slope, if you look at it, contains the point 10, 3, and it contains the point 2, 1. Okay, so y2 minus y1, that's going to be 3 minus 1. x2 minus x1 is 10 minus 2. That's going to be 2 over 8. Simplifies down to 1/4. The perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal, or you could call that the negative reciprocal. And that is going to be negative 4 over 1, or negative 4. So now I can substitute all that into point slope form. Y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x1. I can put in my point of 6 I can put in my x-coordinate of 3, and I can put in my slope of -4, and the final equation is y minus 6 equals the slope times x minus 3. Now I could have also used my midpoint. That's completely okay, but that is an equation for my altitude line, and again you could put it in slope-intercept form. Finally, the perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector will be perpendicular to the base, and it's going to pass through the midpoint of the base. It's going to look something kind of like that. What's going to be happening in that case is, like I said, it's going to go from the midpoint perpendicular to the base. Well, I already know the base slope is 1/4, so the perpendicular slope is -4. And I already know the midpoint. The midpoint, which I found a little bit earlier, is just 6,2. So I can just use those two values. It's going to be y minus the y-coordinate of 2 equals the slope of -4 times x minus the x-coordinate of 6. And that is the equation of my perpendicular bisector line. So very easy to do this if you just use point-slope form.